الله الرحمن الرحيم. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة والسادة الحضور، اسمحوا لي أن أنا بعتذر أن أنا البرزنتيشن بتاعي أنا محضره بالإنجليش، فأستسمحكم عذرا أن أنا بس هنكمل البرزنتيشن والتوبكس in English. Good afternoon, Your Excellency, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. It's my great pleasure to welcome all of you. And before I start, I'd like just to express my thanks and gratitude to His Highness Lieutenant General Saif bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the Prime Minister and Minister of Interior of United Arab Emirates, for sponsoring such very important event. And I would like to extend my thanks and gratitude to the Council of Arab Economic Unit, as well as the Federation, the Arab Federation for E-Commerce, for their great efforts in making this event a landmark to what I would consider a major turning point to the future of e-commerce in the Arab world. We have just heard the very inspiring speech of His Excellency Ambassador Ahmed Rabi and the very comprehensive presentation of His Excellency Dr. Ali Khouri to cover some of the challenges and the great opportunities of the digital economy, followed by Mr. Moran with his constructive remarks about some of the success stories and knowledge sharing. And then we have heard the speech of His Excellency Engineer Hamad Mansouri, highlighting some of the program's initiatives that really making United Arab Emirates, when it comes as a great example of success, leveraging the digital economy through the regulation of the Telecom Regulatory Authority of United Arab Emirates. I'd like to follow on that, but before going to some of the details to complement the whole story of what are the basic building blocks of the digital economy to enable the growth of e-commerce, e-payment, what we have just heard about the Arab Federation of E-commerce strategy that has been shared by Dr. Ali Khouri in his speech and in his video. This gives us the confidence that we are in the right track at the Arab world to leverage the growth and the positive impact of e-commerce and the e-payment in the Arab world. We have seen a strategy with a clear vision, mission, pillars, business plans, and key performance indicators. And this is what truly is making a difference. So I have great confidence that definitely with all these consolidated efforts and expertise, we'll be able to do something, and hope that what has been achieved in United Arab Emirates could be really replicated in other countries in the Arab world. As we all are aware, we are living the era of digital economy. Digital economy, excuse me. Digital economy actually, as we know, representing almost 25% of the global economy. So we are truly living the fourth revolution of the industry. Now, ICT is a cross-cutting through all industries, markets, and activities, whether we talk about government activities, private sectors, education, health, tourism. Now, ICT is a cross-cutting through all of these segments. That's why it is very important for us to be able in the Arab world to actually do whatever it takes to leverage the positive impact of the digital economy. So why digital economy is that important in all kind of segments and market. Simply because digital economy means the welfare of the society, and I think the example of United Arab Emirates and leveraging the power of ICT in all aspects is quite clear for us. If we are talking about contribution to the GDP, we will find countries with double-digit contribution to the GDP because they leverage the power of ICT. If we are talking truly about attracting investment, creating job opportunities, this is really part of it. And when we go to the other side of the services, if we are truly serious about fighting corruptions, and here I'm talking about the developing world, if we are really serious about fighting corruption, enhancing productivity, improving services, this is all about digital economy. And if we are really truly serious about expanding our service to achieve social equity and expanding the service to reach rural areas and marginalized areas and unserved areas, ICT is a tool. And definitely one of my passion about leveraging ICT is about how we can serve people with disability. Just to let you know, we have more than 12% in the Arab world with different kind of disabilities. And ICT is the really, and the fastest way to be able to serve these actually people who deserve all the attention, all the activities from all of us to make sure to merge them in the community and become an active part and really a successful element of our societies. So to share with you some of the successes of the countries who have leveraged ICT in a true way and have an impact in the digital economy, we'll find the two countries colored in red, which United States of America and United Arab Emirates. Irrespective of the population or the size, we'll find these two examples have really leveraged the digital economy for the welfare of their citizens, okay, in all aspects. The eight actually impacts, whether the social impacts, the economic impacts, the development impact, and the business impact that have been achieved in these two countries represent a role model of implementing the true impact of the digital economy. If we look to the countries colored in light blue, which is Turkey, Brazil, and Argentina. Some of you, I am sure, are aware that less than 20 years ago, these countries were about to go bankrupt. And they managed to turn their economy and to become one of the economical power in the world in the last few years because they leveraged ICT. And if we look to the countries colored in green, which is India, China, Singapore, Philippines, and Egypt, these countries, they have the manpower, they have the talent, they have the large population. And these countries are really the leaders in offshoring and outsourcing business in the whole world. And they manage really to contribute to the GDP across these countries. And the last one, which is colored in yellow, Kenya, is a new example of how we can leverage ICT through e-payment to make a great impact on the GDP. And I'm going to highlight some of these things in my presentation. So we are just giving some examples about some of the successes, and we have been talking about digital economy. It might not look as easy as it might have an impression on all of you, because to be able to achieve the digital economy, you need to have a lot of work. You need to have a vision, you need to have a strategy, you need to have a building blocks. Without these building blocks, it will be definitely extremely difficult to be able to do it. So to share with you some of the building blocks that are required to be able to achieve the digital economy in order to enable services like e-commerce or e-payment, there are 6 basic building blocks. The first one, which is the basic infrastructure, and without this basic infrastructure, the digital economy cannot proliferate. And the first basic infrastructure, this means the broadband, the mobile broadband, and the spreading of the fiber optics all over the country. Not only to reach the main cities, but to expand the fiber optics and the services to rural areas and to remote areas. And as we know, United Arab Emirates has the highest population of the spreading of fiber optics all over, I would say, the country. So this is something that with the regulation coming from the Telecom Regulatory Authority, because I have experience dealing with most of my colleagues out of this very respectable organization that has a tremendous impact on the development of the digital economy in the country. So now they are encouraging, definitely 4G is becoming now a fact of life, LTE, and moreover, they are pushing to go for the 5G technology, which definitely will allow a lot of advanced technology to be used in the country. In addition to the fiber optics and the technology, 4G, LTE, and 5G, it comes the cloud computing. And we have heard in so many situations that the future for consolidating the services, whether in private cloud or public cloud, is a way really to be able to do the services in the right way. And definitely having an advantage like submarine cable is an added advantage. Moving to the second pillar, which is the information infrastructure and digital content. Definitely for any country to be able to leverage the services and to provide the services in different segments like education, health, tourism, public service, whatever, you need to have a nationwide, comprehensive, integrated digital platform. And this digital platform is not only to have an access through the different stakeholders and citizens, but the most important things in developing country who are facing some of the challenges due to the financial constraints is about not only accessibility, is about affordability, availability, and suitability as well. And to be able to do that, and I'm going to refer to a very important thing that has been mentioned by His Excellency, Ambassador Ahmed Rabi', is about the Arab world, about the culture that we need to preserve, about our values, about our history. And I'm relating this to the digital content. We know that the Arab world represents 5% of the population of the world population. And bearing in mind that the Arab world is the richest part of the world in the heritage, in the history, in the cultures, in the value, in the religion, we have less than 2% of our content is digitized. This means that the impact of the Western values and culture and stuff like that has more impact on our new generation. So definitely to preserve all of this, you need to have the digital content in the right way. Definitely, by the way, we have to take the best out of the two worlds. We have all the respect to some of the values coming from the Western definitely world, but we have our values as well, and we have the culture that we need to preserve. So the balance between the two is really what I mean. So to have an integrated a plan and a strategy like what Dr. Ali mentioned in his strategy and the vision and KPIs and stuff like that. This is what we mean by having an information infrastructure with a digital content. It has to have a nationwide with the involvement of all stakeholders. The third pillar is about community development. And if we're really serious about expanding the services to cover marginalized areas and rural areas, it's not only enough to have the basic infrastructure or the services available. You have to educate the really unskilled people in the remote areas, and with a focus on, again, people with disability, how to use these services. So it's a matter of creating awareness, training them, availing the service to them, and encourage them really to use the service in an electronic way. The fourth infrastructure or the building block is about the ICT industry programs and initiative. And this is related to the professional community. This is related to encouraging innovation, entrepreneurship, startups, is how you really can inspire the young generation to have really the right ecosystem to develop their capabilities and encourage them to use mobile applications. And to be able to do that, you need really a lot of collaboration between the different stakeholders. One of the things that I found very useful in my time actually of service, and I'm continuing doing that, is a collaboration between academia and industry and NGOs as well, with the multinational companies, with the local companies, to create a whole ecosystem to increase and improve the capacity of the individuals as well as of the companies working in the ICT sector. Okay. Now, when we move to the fifth pillar, with the actually spreading the service across the country and to have a day-to-day access to information knowledge, you need to have a trusted internet access. You need to have a security of the transaction that you're doing. You need to keep the privacy of accessing the services and the internet as well. That's why it's becoming crucial and important to have a nationwide, strategy, how to secure that. And the way to do that is through cybersecurity. And definitely to be able to have an easy access to information. And I have to share the unique experience of United Arab Emirates when they came with their identity card, which is a unique card for each and every citizen, and is very secure and definitely has all the characteristics to have a safe access to information. Last but not least is the legislative and regulatory framework. This is a cross-cutting all the other 5 blocks. Unless you have the regulation that will help the communities and the citizen to use all the facilities with the new services like e-payment, like e-commerce, either you have to enhance the existing laws and regulation or to introduce new laws and regulation to be able to leverage all these services. This is one of the challenges, for example, that we have been facing in Egypt, because we have really, for some reasons, a lot of laws that have been accumulated through tens of years. And to be able to really to cope with the changes that's happening through ICT, you have to have much faster approach, either to enhance the existing laws and regulation to be able to really access the new services and facilities out of the ICT having laws for cybersecurity as well, having laws encouraging e-commerce and e-payment, all of this. So once we have these building blocks in place and we'll be able to move in parallel to achieve digital economy, not just to have a digital economy by itself, but to start using the services. And as we mentioned, and the theme of this conference is about e-commerce and e-payment. Digital economy is about enabling the growth of e-service and e-commerce and e-payment. Let me share with you, as I'm sure we already have heard some of the numbers about the growth of the e-commerce. But to confirm that, as it has been mentioned, the market of the e-commerce currently is about $2 billion. In year 2020, is expected to reach $4 trillion. And if we just follow the growth rate of the e-commerce growth compared to the physical retail stores growth, we'll find that the e-commerce growth is outpaced the growth in the retail business by more than 3 to 1. And this has been reflected in the second chart, where in 2015, the market share of the e-commerce represents 7.6% compared to the total retail business. In 2020, is expected to double, to reach 14.6 compared to the total retail business. And to confirm that, we'll share what's happening in the United States. In the United States, the expectation in year 2017 that the number of shops of major retailers that will be closed in 2017 will exceed the 9,000 stores. This is by far the highest number of closure of stores in the history of the United States. If we look to big retailers like Macy's, like Kmart, Walmart, JCPenney, and Sears, okay, and even for the medium stores like Fitchy, like Guess, like Abercrombie, they are shutting down most of their stores around the United States. To the extent like Bibi, for example, are closing all their stores and converting all their business from physical retailers to e-commerce or online retail. Okay. So, having said that, I would like, as I mentioned, just a second. Okay. I would like, as I mentioned, two experiences. One of them related to e-commerce, to e-payment, and the other one is related to e-commerce. The first one, as I mentioned, in Kenya. In Kenya, when they introduced the e-payment, we have currently more than 25 million users using e-payment through mobile, which represent more than 70% of the adult population in Kenya. Moreover, there is more than 25% of the transaction of the GDP are wired through mobiles. So in a country that is not very advanced, they realized the power of ICT and e-payment, and they managed really to convert the whole economy from a failure to a success. So this gives us, with other examples, successes around the region, that if there is a vision, there is a will, there is always a way to leverage the power of ICT. The other great example about e-commerce, definitely the acquisition of Amazon to Souk for $650 million. What does it mean? It means that the Middle East region is becoming very attractive to giants like Amazon, not only because of the market size that exceeds 50 million, but because there are a lot of very innovative companies in the region, especially in United Arab Emirates, that have a great potential to be acquired by other giants and have a great potential to grow through the whole Middle East and Africa region. Before closing, I would like to share my personal experience. I have been honored, privileged to live in United Arab Emirates for close to 15 years. So my roots actually, beside Egypt, is that I'm extremely excited about the time that I spent in United Arab Emirates. I'm still, by the way, family members are living. And in his speech, Mr. Mohammed, on behalf of His Excellency Engineer Hamad Mansouri, mentioned about the first electronic currency and the first smart, or I would say, e-government. I would like to tell him I have lived myself an experience. I was managing a company called AT&T in the beginning of the 90s when His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid mentioned in the beginning of the 90s, I would like to have Dubai and the United Arab Emirates outperform Singapore. And he started with the first thing, which is the economic department of Dubai. The economic department of Dubai in 1993 was the first building in the Middle East and Africa to have completely wired by fiber. And it was the first one-stop shop in the Middle East, Africa, to have these business flows, to have everything related to investment and creating companies in the Department of Economics. Then we followed that with the Dubai Shopping Festival. Again, was the first one, fully automated process since the beginning, okay, that with His Highness Dr. Mr. Muhammad Gergawi. By that time, he was there, and we worked together in the first shopping festival through ICT, a complete business flows. Then definitely evolved to the Jawan Amiri for the ERP systems, and the electronic government came, and after that, the smart government, and now this is the era of happiness meter. First country in the world to introduce the happiness meter, to measure the satisfaction of the citizen of the services that they are getting. And the core of that is the ICT services. And now with the happiness meter, that the first initiative for a smart community in the whole region, there is, I'm seeing a lot of encouragement to government organizations that reached now 38 entities, and not only the government organization, but they have extended that to private sector, and over 2 million transactions, a great thing. That's why United Arab Emirates is really one of the success stories in the world, not only in the region, how to leverage ICT and digital economy to have a great positive impact. I'd like to close by sharing my comment that we believe that there is a huge success potential in the Middle East and Africa, leveraging the expertise, resources, capabilities, and markets, really to seize the tremendous opportunity ahead of the Middle East, Africa, in order to achieve digital economy to enable the growth of e-commerce and e-payment. Thank you very much.